Okay, welcome to episode number 8 of the English to Takeaway podcast. My name is Jordan. You may know my social handles of English Lingo or English Lingo with Jordan. I'm an English teacher and content creator on social media, and I live in the Philippines, for those of you who don't know. And my wonderful co host is.
Oh, thanks, Jordan. My name is Richard, also known on social media as the Grammar Goat. I'm also an English teacher, and I live in England, in the lovely county of Kent, down in the south of England. Um, not far from where you're from as well, Jordan.
Exactly right. Yeah, very, very, very close. Some might say a stone's throw sometimes. No, more than a stone's throw. I'm just joking.
Perfect. So, in this episode of the podcast, we're going to have a chat again and see what comes up in our conversations. We're going to
Yes.
talk about some news stories that have caught our eye this week, and we'll also be doing a role play as well later on. And at the end, as always, we'll give you some English to take away. 10 items, right, Jordan? That's what we've decided.
Yep, exactly. 10 items. I think last week the number was perfect. We had some cracking words and phrases for us to use. So yeah, it's always good to practice the words and phrases that we give you at the end. Don't be worried at all about making mistakes. Try and use them in your conversations that you have, just to help you maybe sound a little bit more natural, give yourself more confidence, and also impress your friends that you may want to kind of say, look, I've learnt these new natural expressions.
Exactly. You've already used an absolute beauty actually with the adjective cracking, which is, is a really great one. I remember when I used to work at a gym many years
Yeah.
ago as a fitness instructor, and one of the other fitness instructors, his favorite adjective for everything was cracking. So he'd be like, "Oh, what a cracking song! It's a cracking t-shirt. This is a cracking exercise. What a cracking day!" So when you said cracking, it just reminded me of him. But it's a great adjective, isn't it? It means when something's very good, very
Yeah,
positive.
absolutely. Yeah. And again, I think it's probably quite British as well. We use it a lot in the UK. Um, we use it a lot with weather as well. What a cracking day we have today, meaning it's sunny and beautiful usually. So yeah, it's always nice to pull out those like awesome adjectives or phrases that we can use to describe things. I think it's really yeah, it's quite a nice thing to do actually. So yes, apologies if I do sound a little bit croaky. There's another one for you. Um, yes, I'm getting over a little bit of sickness, so if my voice sounds a little bit strange, then that's the reason why. Or it might sound husky, and in that sense, maybe quite interesting. I don't know.
Husky, hoarse, croaky. You, to me, you sound fine. Actually, you sound totally normal. But I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry that you've been under the weather with some man flu this
Yes.
week. Whenever I get man flu, my tried and tested remedy is hot water, some honey, some lemon, and I try to drink as much of that as possible. But
Absolutely.
what what have you done to look after yourself this week, Jordan?
A lot of ginger tea. My wife is crazy about using ginger, which is a good thing. So ginger tea in the morning, ginger tea in the evening. Basically, just trying to uh, you get a lot of fluids in you and things like that, and a lot of rest. Actually, I I think probably the first time in a long time I stayed in bed for probably one whole day this week, which I never do. I don't like doing it. It's not a fun thing for me to do, but yeah, I needed it. It was terrible actually.
Yeah, sorry to. I also had quite a lot of sleep at the beginning of this week because I rather foolishly went out for a run with my two sons at the beginning of the week. Now, my two sons are, they're both teenagers, 19 and 16, naturally fit,
Yeah.
naturally athletic, and we decided to go out for a run one evening. And we used to run together a lot a few years ago, and it was when I was running a lot as well, and I was training. I haven't run for almost 2 years, and
Wow.
I agreed to go out for a run with them. It was quite a short run. It was probably about 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, not
Yeah.
very far. Um, I was in pieces when we got back. I went straight to bed. I slept about 12 hours. The next day, I was so tired. I couldn't walk properly. So it just shows how out of shape I am in terms of my running. So yeah, I
You were
need to
you were
get back.
walking like you were walking like Douglas Bader.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, Terrible, terrible. So yeah, you've been in bed sick. I've been in bed recovering after my run with my sons.
Wow, that's impressive. That it's impressive that you know that you're keeping up with them and still doing it as well. But as we learned with one expression from a couple of weeks ago, you pay for it the next day,
Or the next week in my
the
case.
next
Absolutely
week. Yeah,
right. Um,
absolutely. Yeah. Do you do you find running therapeutic and enjoyable? Because I've never really enjoyed it myself. Like, how about yourself? What's your feeling about running?
yeah, I used to be obsessed with running. Actually, I used to absolutely love it, be addicted
Wow.
to it. Used to run 2 or 3 times a week, and I trained and ran the London Marathon in
Mm,
2017. So I used to love running. Great for the body, great for the mind. But it takes up a lot of your time if you get into running properly, because
yeah.
obviously you have to go out. If you're training for a marathon, you have to go out on 2.5 hour runs a few times a week. So it does. It's time consuming. So yeah, I sort of just gave it up a few weeks ago just because of the time thing. But
Yeah.
I'd love to get back into it. I do love running, listening to music, and it's a great escape as well to go for a run.
Nice.
Have you ever been into running, Jordan? In when you were a bit younger, did you ever run or?
Yeah, yeah. I did when I worked at a gym. So this was when I was around sort of like 19, very early 20s. I was working at a gym, and we had a small lake at the back of the gym, and lots of people went running around the lake, probably a few laps, something like that. And I used to go and join them. That was quite fun and enjoyable. So yeah, there was a time where I did enjoy it, and but never really like long distances. Not like marathon distances at all. Probably the most was around about 10k, something like that. Um, but no, I'm not really I'm not really into running by itself, but if you put me on a tennis court, or if you put me on a football pitch, or if you know, put me where a ball sport is involved, uh, I'm I'm happy. I'm all for it. I don't mind. Like, I can push through that horrendous pain barrier and try my heart out. But yeah, if I'm not chasing after something, then I kind of think there's no point.
Have you ever played Paddle, the game Paddle?
No, I want to. I really want to. No, but I haven't. No. Are you? Uh, have you played it?
No, I've never played it, but near me yesterday, I was driving and I saw they're building a paddle centre with, I guess it must have like two or three paddle courts, I guess you'd call them in.
Yeah.
Um, that looks like a lot of fun. I've seen a little bit of it online, and it looks like it's a game for all abilities as well. You don't have to be a really good tennis player or a really good squash player, do you, to be able
No.
to play paddle? So
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna play. Well, when you come over to the UK, we'll have to have a game of paddle together at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd love that. I've been talking to my dad about it, and like my dad mentioned it to me as well. He's like paddle looks fun because like my dad and I we used to play tennis a lot together, and a little bit of table tennis as well. And yeah, squash, of course, is another good one. I loved when I was younger, actually. And yeah, paddle seems to be like in the middle of all of those, and it's kind of got like that uniqueness of like the interest of all sports combined together. I think so. Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to give it a go. It looks really interesting, actually. Yeah.
Are you
Um,
are you quite a competitive person when you're playing sport? How competitive are you?
I would love to say I'm not competitive, but I am fiercely competitive. I hate losing, and I'm yeah. I will always give it my best to win. I don't like losing whatsoever. Yeah. How about yourself? Are you a competitive sports player or not so much?
Well, it's going to be an interesting game of paddle if we do play, because I'm also, to use the same expression as you, I'm also fiercely competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really really competitive. I try not to be. I
Yeah,
try not to be, but I am. I always just want to be the best that I can be. So yeah,
absolutely.
but
My
I think the game of paddle, if it does happen, we'll stay friends afterwards, won't we? But
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's like one of those things where um, growing up, my dad never let me win anything. So we played tennis, and he was playing like, and when I was younger, for example, like 8 or 9, I would play quite well, but he would always let me get to within a sort of certain distance to winning, and then he would then, you know, serve like 2 or 3 aces just to put me in my place and say, "Look, no, you're not going to win." So I always grew up with that incentive of like I really have to beat him, meaning my dad, because I I wanted to show him that I could compete with him. I could be as good as he was. So yeah, I think that competitiveness really helped me be the golfer that I was. So I transitioned that competitiveness playing tennis into playing golf. And yeah, I got to a very good standard of golf when I was about 19, 18, 19. So yeah, it definitely helps. I think competitiveness for sports, for people, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing. I think it's healthy.
absolutely, yeah, I agree. But also, I think competitiveness sometimes you can't teach it. It's got to
No,
be innate. It's got to be within your own personality. So some people have it and some people don't. And the people that do have it are the ones that if they want to pursue a career in sport, if they've got that competitiveness within them, then they've got a really, really good chance of having that career. I think you can have all the talent
absolutely.
in the world, can't you? But without that competitiveness within you,
Yeah.
the talent won't go anywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got some people who don't have the natural talent, but they have an unwavering desire to win, and they find a way to build on what they know and improve the skills that they have, and maybe the skills that they don't have, they try to learn them, and they find their edge and the advantage that they can get to win. um, so yeah, it's not always about natural ability or the skills that you're born with. If you do have that desire and competitiveness, then sometimes that's all it needs. You need that sort of motivation to do it. So yeah, yeah, interesting you asked that question. That's a I'm always, yeah, I've always been competitive.
yeah, I didn't realise that you were such a good golfer. So how good did your golf get? What was your handicap when you were at your peak of your golfing abilities?
So I got down to an 8 handicap, and probably I could have gone lower, but I went to university and didn't really play so much, etc. Um, and then life and everything else got in the way of competing. So yeah, I love, yeah, I love the game of golf, but um, yeah, I've never really got below 8. But I reckon if I continued, I probably would have gotten down to maybe about 4 in the probably the next couple of years. And yeah, it was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. It was great to experience it, and played in a lot of competitions. And yeah, it was fun. It was a fun thing to experience.
I can imagine it's extremely nerve wracking as a sport golf when you're on the tee, ready to tee off, and if you've got people around you watching, it must be so nerve wracking because I've never played. I've watched the Netflix documentary, about professional golf. I really
Yeah,
enjoy watching that, but I can imagine it must be so nerve wracking when you're on the tee because so many things can go wrong, right, with your golf swing,
yeah,
and you got people watching. It must be beyond nerve wracking.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're you're sort of you're waiting for something to happen. You're waiting for a noise to put you off, or um, yeah, like if you can, the best thing is that you've got to channel your mind not to care about anything around you, like the noise, the wind, whatever. Like nothing matters, and you're just focusing on what you're going to do. But yeah, it can be. You're right. It can be quite nerve wracking. Yes, indeed.
Have you
Uh,
ever got close to a hole in one? Have you ever nearly got a hole in one or got close to a hole in one?
no, I haven't got close. I got a hole in one a couple of years ago.
Did you?
In Japan. In Japan. Yeah. So
Oh
I was
wow!
playing with my friend, and I think it was probably on like the fourth tee, the fourth, yeah, maybe the fourth hole, and I just I hit a beautiful shot, and um, I just thought I just turned around to him and said, I think that's going to be close, and just one bounce, and then basically rolled in, and yeah, I the rest of the round was terrible, like because that moment, like I was so happy in that moment, and I didn't care about the rest of the round. Like it was so bad. I was like, but I got a hole in one, so it didn't matter.
I guess at that point you were on the phone to the PGA Tour trying to get signed up, right? At that point,
Yeah, definitely. I was like, yes, get me in there.
No, that's amazing. Do you ever do the golf challenges if you've seen them? Like I think there's one in Dubai where have you seen it? If you hit a there's a little island in the water and you have to try and get a hole in one, and if you
Yeah,
get a hole in one you win 100 grand or something like that. Have you ever seen those or played those?
I've seen them online. I'd love to have a go actually, and like saying that, I think it would be kind of a cool thing to like to have here if we ever were able to have it, because there's nothing like that here. We live near the sea, and it'll be nice to have like that little island, and I think it'll be quite fun for tourists to have a go at. But no, I've never tried it, but I've seen it. It looks really fun, actually. Yeah.
And the
Um,
other the other like video that I've been watching online actually on social media, maybe you've seen it, is the guy who he's got a um, little golf green with a hole in his back garden, and he's
yes.
trying to hit the ball over his house and get a hole in
Oh,
one. Have
yeah.
you seen that
His
challenge?
his name is Bryson DeChambeau. Yes,
Oh, you know him? Oh, amazing! There you go. Yeah, it's
he's
quite good to watch.
he's phenomenal. He's won. I think a few years back he won the longest drive challenge. Like, he's a big beefy fella, and he was obsessed with being able to drive the ball like the furthest of anyone, and he entered into long drive challenges, but it was affecting his overall golf game. So he's not really doing those anymore, but he still hits the ball a country mile, like unbelievably strong, and like how far he can hit a ball is insane. Yeah, he I think last year he won the US Open, or a year before. He's won the US Open a couple of times, I think, and yeah, he's a really phenomenal golfer. Really, really, really good golfer, actually. Yeah.
Well, this guy is it's a different guy. I think that the one I was talking about. I think this guy isn't a professional golfer, but
Oh,
he's just got a golf, what do you call it, a green and a hole in his back garden, and
right.
he's doing a challenge trying to get a hole in one. So day one he gets one shot over his house to try and get it, and then
Yeah,
day two he gets two shots, and he's just keeping going until he gets to hole in
and
one.
the house that he has, it looks like it's quite glass, like a lot of glass at the front.
I don't think so. No, it's just a
Ah,
regular looking house, and obviously he's got cameras at the back
ah,
showing
okay.
where the ball goes. I know it's just strangely addictive to keep watching to see if
Yeah,
and when he manages it. So it's quite a cool video
I
series. I
I
sometimes watch.
agree. Like, there was also another challenge with I know you like your superheroes. Tom Holland, the guy that plays Spider Man, really really good golfer, by the way. He, along with, I think it was his brothers. I can't remember now who were participating in the challenge, but they were hitting loads and loads of golf balls. I think it was like, can they get a hole in one in 100 goes, or in 6 hours or so. I can't remember exactly what it was. Um, but you're right. It's weirdly addictive. You're wanting to know, like, did they actually get a hole in one in that time? Like, is it possible? Um, yeah, it's fantastic, actually. Like, those challenges are really really fun and addictive to watch.
Absolutely, no, I agree. But anyway, going back to your achievement of getting a hole in one, that's incredible. What an achievement! That's amazing. Something you'll always have to talk about your hole in one. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I was, yeah, I was extremely pleased. not only that is that my granddad, he played golf. He was the one that got me interested into golf, um, and I always knew that he got a hole in one at my home course in England, and like I always wanted to match what he had done, and I was extremely proud that like I finally got a hole in one, so I could say that I did the same as him, which was nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, absolutely incredible. Well, I love how the conversation's gone today. Anyway, it's been an interesting one, hasn't it?
Yeah,
We talk about paddle, and then we segue to golf. Yeah, amazing.
absolutely, indeed. Do you have an interesting story for us this week?
Yeah, I do actually. It's nothing to do with sport actually. So complete subject topic change.
Good.
The story's all about Lego. I'm a big Lego fan, and it's a story I spotted in the news, and it's a guy who lives very near me actually, just 10 minutes down the road,
Oh,
and he has started a 3 year project where he's building the Titanic from
wow.
Lego. Obviously, not sort of real the true size. I think it's a 12-foot model, which is still huge.
Yeah.
And he's building it from memory as well, which is incredible. But
Wow.
he's looking for donations of Lego bricks because
Mm,
I think he's run out of blue and white Lego bricks. So he's calling for donations of more Lego bricks
that's
to
incredible.
finish building his Titanic model. So I just thought that was a really cool story. It just caught my eye that
Absolutely.
he was doing it.
Yeah. Uh, is uh is he going to display the model after he's finished with it, or um like what's the end going to be for him?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure, but I'm actually going to donate Lego to him because he lives so close. Literally, well, we said a stone's throw, didn't we, at the
There
beginning?
we
So
go. Yeah.
literally a stone's throw away, 10 minutes down the road in the car. I've
Yeah.
got so much Lego in the garage from my kids that I'm going to donate Lego to him. I
Wow.
think.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you should, if you've got like Lego sets, be careful not to give away um loads of them, because some of them are worth an amazing amount of money, worth a fortune. Um, Especially if the product is a retired product, basically. So Lego only makes them for a certain length of time, and then they retire the product, um, and the price will skyrocket if you've got a complete set, actually. So yeah, Lego's amazing, really, really fantastic. And like when you were younger, did you ever have Lego? Did you play with Lego much when you were a kid?
Yeah, so I did. My kids loved Lego, and I had quite a funny relationship with Lego because on one side it would keep my kids occupied for hours building Lego
Yeah.
models, and but on the other side, I remember so many times sort of going downstairs in the morning, bleary eyed, half awake or half asleep, I should say, and then treading on, stepping on a Lego brick, and it's probably one of the worst pains in the world that when you step on a Lego brick, shrieking, kicking a Lego model in anger um, in the morning. But
Absolutely.
then actually I started using Lego in my teaching a lot, and I really
Really?
got into. Have you heard of Lego Serious Play? Have you ever heard of that?
The Lego series,
Lego Serious Play. Have you heard of it?
Lego Serious Play. No, what's that?
It started as a business strategy where companies were using Lego to brainstorm ideas, and so I
Mm.
looked in a lot. I did a lot of research into it, and it's really interesting. like in your hands and in your fingers, there are so many nerve endings.
Yeah.
Um, so that when you're like playing with things, playing with the Lego and building things, it stimulates so much in your brain, so much creativity,
Wow.
and you're able to put your thoughts into a visual something. You're able to build something. So yeah, I introduced it into my classrooms when I was teaching a few years ago.
Nice.
But yeah, it's really interesting. You should Google it. Lego Serious Play. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
no, I will do. I will do. Like, I think I think Lego's come on so much more now than like when I was a kid. Like, of course, it was still amazing when I was a kid, but some of the stuff that they have now is just mind blowing. It really is. Like, they've got so many Disney models to build. They've got, you know, things to do with like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Um, there was one that they had. Ah, um, I think it's the Natural History Museum or something. They brought out like the natural. I think it was the Natural History Museum, like a modular building that you could. It looks so realistic. It was just brilliant. It really, really is amazing. Yeah. No,
You like
I love
you like
Lego. Yeah,
Lego?
yeah. We've got we've got a lot of Christmas Lego, so um, we're usually trying to extend and expand it every year. So we've got like the gingerbread house, we've got Santa's workshop. You've got like all of these like Christmas themed Lego. So basically creating a Lego village for Christmas.
Oh, that's a good idea. Where do you store it for the rest of the year? Because it's quite fragile, isn't it, Lego? So it could
Yeah.
easily get broken. Where do you put it for the rest of the year then?
Um, to be honest, I think that I'm not going to keep putting it away, bring it out, putting it away, bring it out. I think eventually I'm just going to keep it somewhere where it's not going to get knocked off. But I'm just going to keep it out amongst, like, for example, my daughter's Elsa castle that she has, her other Lego bits and pieces as well. Um, yeah, I think I'm going to keep it sort of out because, as you said, it's frustrating and fiddly to, keep putting it back together again, and like just a portion of it breaks off and you've then got to put it back on again and you don't know where it goes, and no, I don't want to have to go through it.
No, exactly. Jordan, what news story did you bring this week? Did you spot
ah
anything news?
so this week um I have actually had a look at an interesting one and something to my sort of close to me is the state of Japan's English proficiency rankings. Um, and it's quite sad, to be honest. Um, I don't know the particular reason why, but it says here, and I'm reading this from the article. Japan's English proficiency ranking falls to a record low. Um, Japan has fallen to a new record low in a global ranking of English proficiency. Um, so basically, I think what has happened is that it's not that Japan has gotten worse at English. I think it's other countries getting better. Um, and therefore, what happens is it pushes Japan's proficiency level to a lower standard than what previously was. Um, so, for those of you who don't know, I was teaching in Japan for 15 years, so I'm familiar with teaching in elementary schools, high schools, and business people. And yeah, it to kind of see that evolution and then the proficiency level not getting anywhere, I think is quite sad actually. I was shocked when I saw it. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting story, but unfortunately quite a sad one for myself.
No, it's really interesting. I don't know how much you've sort of read into it, but do you know what they've sort of based that on? How have they measured proficiency? Is it through one of the many English language tests, like the global brands like IELTS or Pearson, that they've measured it on? Or
It it doesn't actually say that the which test was used, because the only thing that it mentions here, it says the ranking is based on data from free tests. So it's something that people don't need to pay for, of course, um, that were taken online by around 2.1 million people in 2023. So I don't really know the nature of those tests. Were they, were they taken in full? Like some people might start the test and not finish it, of course, which might have a bearing on um, the overall score. Um, yeah, unfortunately, they don't really give you concrete data on the actual tests. But it says here that this year Japan ranks 92nd on the EPI, down from 87th last year. And it says Japan has fallen in the rankings every year since the EPI was first released in 2011. Um, so it says here Japan is now at the bottom of the low proficiency band, the fourth of five bands that range from very high to very low. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that I would agree 100% with these kind of findings, just because I think Japan has its own tests as well. Like there are a lot of tests within Japan that only Japanese people take. For example, one that is highly rated is called Aiken, and Aiken tests range from like elementary school ages all the way up to adult age. So they test in their own sort of private environments as well. But yeah, if this is accurate, then I feel that it's a little bit sad to see that it's slipping down the rankings, unfortunately.
yeah, there's lots to unpack, isn't there? There about Japan and the education system in Japan, and how they're taught English, how they learn English. Lots to unpack, but yeah, it's no, it's very yeah, it's sad to hear. I've also got an invested interest in Japan because I taught at a Japanese university for 17 years. So
Ah,
I-
right.
I've taught Japanese students for many years. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting to see how students evolved over that time and how actually they did get better at English,
Mm,
because I think the Japanese Ministry for Education have made quite big reforms, haven't they, in terms of the number of hours that students get of English now in schools. But it's
yes.
probably a long, undoubtedly a long process
Yeah,
that needs to
absolutely.
unfold, I guess, until it has an impact on their English language abilities.
Yeah, I think the issue is that perhaps English is not it's not seen as a communication tool. Mostly, it's seen as a way of entering better universities. So to learn English in high school, it's not all about communicating and speaking. It's all about passing a test. So their affinity with English is not always a positive one. Yeah,
100% agree with that. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Also, I guess, by nature, the way that the Japanese have learned Japanese, say, is through rote learning, isn't it? Because, of course, with their many alphabets and the complexity of kanji, and they need to learn through rote and learning, repetition. And so
yeah,
often they apply that to their learning of English, which often, creates very good grammar machines, but
yes,
not communicative students as we would identify them as. So, they might be good at passing, as you said, a university entrance test or a grammar test, but when they need to communicate in a real world situation, they would struggle.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally true. And I think that's where a lot of people want to get more experience and want to get more exposure is to the communication side of things. Because when I was teaching in high school and the kids were communicating with each other and everything, they seemed really happy, really sort of into it, and yeah, it was something that they enjoyed. So to bring that enjoyment, I think, is definitely going to be necessary in pushing the language to the next level, and hopefully get the proficiency level up even more. But yeah, I think anything like that, when you've when you've lived and you've kind of worked in that environment, you do feel a little bit sort of sad in a way, because uh, you always hope that they would take it to the next level and improve year by year. So to see something like that, I feel kind of like yeah, a little bit down, unfortunately, about that one.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a really interesting story, Jordan.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's very yeah, very interesting. But today we can move on now to, of course, talking about a role play, and um, I want to come up with, or I should say, I have come up with an idea specifically for Richard this week, because he is jetting off to Poland. So I wanted to challenge Richard, and hopefully I'm not going to curse you on this one. I hope this doesn't happen to you. Um, I said to Richard earlier that we should do a role play about him arriving in Poland, and suddenly he cannot find his luggage. The the airline has lost his luggage. Yeah. So, how do you feel about doing that kind of role play? Do you think that would be quite good?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great idea. I think we'll use some interesting language, definitely for the
Yes.
viewers, listeners. It's sort of one of a traveler's worst nightmares, isn't it? If you lose your luggage and
Yeah.
you're in another country with no clothes, or you know, you haven't got your hair dryer. Not that that's important to me, but you know what. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So I will be, of course, the airline worker, the airline staff, and you are yourself. All right. So, hi, sir. How can I help you?
Oh, hi there. Wow, you speak very, very good English.
Oh,
I'm really surprised. Really nice to meet you. But I've got a problem, I'm afraid. I can't find my suitcase.
oh, I see. So, firstly, can I ask um, what plane you arrived on, and the airline that you arrived with as well, and of course where you were flying from.
Yeah, so I've flown from London. I flew in from London Stansted,
Okay,
and my airline was the English to Fly airline.
right. Okay, and what time did you arrive here?
Yes, I arrived about an hour ago. I've obviously gone to the conveyor belt to pick up my suitcase,
Yeah.
and my suitcase isn't there, and all of the other passengers have found their suitcases and have left, and now I'm left on my own with no suitcase.
Okay, right. Do you actually have your, your baggage numbers that were stuck to your passport?
I haven't got it. No, unfortunately, I think it. I was given something, but I think I must have lost it.
Okay, no problem. Let me just check on the system for you then, sir. Can I have your family name, please?
Yeah, sure. It's Venner.
Okay, and how do you spell that?
So it's
Yep, yep.
VENNER.
All right, wonderful. And do you happen to remember your seat number by any chance?
I can't remember. No, I think it was
Oh,
21D, maybe.
okay, let me check. Ah, 22D.
Ah, thank you.
Okay, yes, okay, no problem. All right, yes, I've located it here. Let me just check where it has been scanned. Um, and that's strange. It's not being scanned in Poland. Um, I think your luggage, sir, unfortunately, may be left in London. So please bear with me. I'm just going to give them a quick call
Yeah.
just to make sure that your luggage is in London. So
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you at this point, but I'm pretty sure my luggage is here because embarrassingly, I actually saw a pair of my underpants on the conveyor belt going around. So there
right.
was everyone's suitcases, not my suitcase, but a pair of my underwear on the conveyor belt, which sort of leads me
Mm,
to believe maybe the luggage is split, and the other embarrassing thing was the underwear actually has my face on it because it's like a joke pair of underwear, joke pair of
right.
pants. So everyone could obviously see that it was my underwear, and
Right.
obviously I had
Okay.
to remove it from the conveyor belt.
Yes. Yes.
People were walking off
Absolutely.
with people were walking off with their luggage, and I just walked off with a pair of my pants. So
Sure. Sure. Well, of course, there is a silver lining. At least you've got a clean pair of underwear, which is great. But let me just call the airport in London just to be sure, because yeah, I don't want to take any risks of not finding it. So give me one moment, and I'll call them, and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Of
sure,
course.
thanks.
Um, yes, Mr. Venner, I've already spoken to the guys in London, and you're absolutely right. Your luggage did split open,
Mm,
and that's one of the reasons why it wasn't scanned in Poland, because
can't believe it.
your bag was broken as they were moving it onto the conveyor belt in, of course, in London. Excuse me. And what must have happened is your underpants must have got caught on the conveyor belt, made it, of course, over to Poland, and that's why you found them where you did. But
Mm.
the rest of your luggage, unfortunately, is stranded in London at the moment. So yes, the best I can do is I can try and get the luggage on the next flight. However, your bag is completely destroyed. It ripped open as they were loading it onto the conveyor belt. So, um, what would you like us to do?
I mean, I'm not too worried, to be honest. I mean, they are. It is a good, decent pair of pants, and they're one of my favourites. They'll probably last me a couple of days actually. So not too upset. I've got my pants at least. Am I able to claim any money back on the suitcase?
Um, that will be through your insurance company. I will give you your claim report. So I will sign everything and give it to yourself. But I cannot advise you on anything to do with your insurance. You would have to go through them and see what the coverage is about lost luggage and broken cases with them. Unfortunately.
Sure. Okay. I guess I'll just leave with my pants then.
Okay. Well, have a great time in Poland, and I hope you get the rest of your luggage when you get back home.
Thanks very much.
That was awesome. I nearly lost it when you said that you had your face on your pants. To be honest, I,
That
I wasn't expecting it. I was thinking pants, and then you said, how I know they're mine. Like they've got my face on them. Yeah, that was brilliant. You nearly got me with that one.
It's kind of your worst nightmare, though, isn't it? If not only do you lose your suitcase, but your pants are on display for everyone on the conveyor belt. I'm hoping
Yeah.
that's not going to happen to me later this week when I fly home. I have not got a pair of pants with my face on, by the way, just to make that clear.
And we were talking about merch a few weeks ago. There you go. There's a merch idea.
I've been on the phone about that right away, actually.
Yeah. Who wants a pair of Grammar Go underwear?
Perfect. Jordan, I think it's probably time to swiftly move on from the pants into
Yes,
the English to take away. What do you think? Five each? Five expressions
I
each?
I would love to. Yeah, absolutely, definitely, indeed.
Okay, I'll let you. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The first one that I thought was brilliant is, for yourself is um, man flu. You mentioned man flu when we were talking about me being a bit sick this week, um, because of course, everybody talks about flu or influenza, colds, coughs, um, but man flu. Why do we call it man flu?
I'll give you my take on it. I
Go
think
ahead.
it's yeah. I think it's probably because as men we often sort of look for sympathy and maybe make a bigger deal out of being ill than women do. Women tend to sort of get on with it and they don't complain too much, whereas us men, we often feel quite sorry for ourselves. Is that how you see man flu as well?
Yeah, I wrote down we make a meal of it.
Exactly, absolutely.
Yeah, um, I, my wife was also sick, similar symptoms to me, but I jokingly said to her, I said, "Yeah, I understand," but I said mine's worse. Um, that didn't really get the response that I was, you know, hoping for. She
No,
wasn't very amused when I said
I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, that's a great one to kick off man to have man flu or to get
yes.
flu. Um, okay, the next one I've got number two, something you said about running, which I thought was a
Okay.
useful expression. So you said, "Oh, I'm not really into
Mm,
running." So I like to be into something. So to be into something, to be interested in something. So, I'm really into golf or she's really into dancing. I think it's a useful expression.
absolutely. Yeah, and using it for hobbies, for sports. Yeah, it's a great one to describe things that you like and that you have a strong interest for. Of course. Yeah,
Or or a
absolutely.
question as well, right? So if someone asks you,
Mm,
"What are you into?" What are you into? If you
yeah,
don't understand that, you're never going to guess the meaning of that question, are you? If you haven't come across
exactly.
that
Yeah.
expression.
Yeah, like we often ask, yeah, what things are you into?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one actually. Nice indeed. Uh, the next one that I like from you is that similar to what we were talking about, in a sense of uh, paying for something the next day. You mentioned I was in pieces after your run. Uh,
Thanks
like,
for reminding me.
but a great description there, of course, of how you were feeling. Like, naturally, we cannot be in pieces, of course, but it's an incredibly descriptive way of saying I was just tired. I had no energy. I was basically sleeping. I was gone. Yeah, so to be in pieces can mean that you just had nothing left, no energy, nothing at all. But on the other hand, it can also be used in an emotional state as well, right? To be quite emotional and cry about certain emotional experiences, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Sad news, for
Yes.
example, you can react to sad news, can't you, by being very upset, and you
Yeah.
could say, "Oh, he or she is in pieces," very, very, very upset. Yeah, so yeah, two useful meanings there, definitely. Brilliant one. Yeah, great.
Cool.
Then the next one I've got, we were talking about paddle, and I asked you, are you competitive? Do you like to win? Do you try your hardest to win? And you said, oh, I'm fiercely competitive. So
Yes.
I love the adverb fiercely to modify the adjective competitive. I think it's a really nice collocation. So I'm very, very, very competitive, or I'm extremely competitive, or I'm fiercely competitive. The two words live together really, really nicely, don't they? Really would
Absolutely.
raise the level of someone's English, right? If they said that in a
Yes.
speaking exam, for example, it would sound brilliant.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like, if you're doing, as we said, a lot about like tests like IELTS and Cambridge, things like that, if someone describes themselves as fiercely competitive, that's a beautiful description of, themselves. Absolutely. So no, I agree with that 100%. Um, the next one is one actually before, it was one of the first ones. So you, when I mentioned, yes, it was cracking, and you laughed and said, oh, you've already come out with a beauty, like meaning the word cracking.
Oh,
So
I see.
yeah, I'm wondering, like, do you think that we can use cracking and beauty in sort of a synonymous way? Because sometimes we say, oh, today it's a beauty, or today it's cracking, right? Or that was a cracking goal. What a beauty, like he scored. Do you feel that they're quite synonymous?
I think, yeah, definitely they are. Obviously, a beauty, it's a noun, and
Yes.
cracking is adjective. So, apart from the part of speech element, which would change how you use them in a sentence, in terms of the meaning,
Yeah,
um, yeah, they're very, very close, aren't they? They're brilliant, informal ways to say that something's very, very, very good. Yeah, excellent.
absolutely. Yeah, but
Mm,
I just I wanted to highlight the differences of them, because
mm.
I thought that at that exchange in the beginning of the pod, it was really really good, because we both used two really fun descriptions of something, but sounded a little bit similar as well at the same time. So yeah, it's that was really really fun to hear actually. Indeed.
Yeah, great. Some great useful language, I think. And again, cracking, you'd probably never guess the meaning of that, would you, if you didn't know it? You think,
No.
what does cracking mean? Maybe a cracked glass, for example, but you'd never you'd never guess it.
No.
The next one I had is another adjective, and it's to be very very nervous. We were
Mm.
talking about golf and standing at the tee. I think you'd say to drive off, and that experience is very nerve wracking. And I think
Yes.
nerve wracking's a very nice adjective. Can you think of another? I guess another example of a nerve wracking situation would be an exam.
Yes. Yes. Presentation, maybe.
Great one. Yeah.
Yep. Presentation, possibly. Um, interview, interview as well. Might be a nerve wracking experience, and unless you like interviews, of course. But yeah, definitely those experience where you feel very nervous, of course, indeed. Um, and the next one that I had was a phrase, and I think we hear this phrase more often than not nowadays. Uh, Lots to unpack. You mentioned this phrase, which was great. Um, but when do we use lots to unpack? Now, it's of course, you can use it in the literal term, like unpacking of boxes, unpacking of presents, things like that. Um, but in terms of stories or information, it means that there's lots to talk about. There's lots to discuss. Maybe there's lots to think about, of course. So in this situation where we were talking about Japan, there were lots of things, lots of elements that we could discuss and we could talk about. And that's where the phrase, like, lots to unpack would come about. Yeah. Do you like using this phrase a lot?
I listened to a podcast, and they another podcast, like one of my favourite podcasts, with two comedians from the
Yeah.
UK, and they often use that expression to unpack. There's a lot to unpack here, so I
Yeah.
think I've just acquired it from their podcast. Maybe that's why I used it, but yeah, it's one of my favourite expressions at the moment, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good. It's a very good one indeed. Absolutely no problem.
Cool. All right. The next one I've got. We were doing the role play with the suitcase, and obviously we know what happened. The suitcase sort of did that, and the pants fell out, came out. I think
Yeah.
students sometimes struggle to find the correct verb in these kind of situations when describing something quite unusual that you wouldn't usually describe. So a student
Yeah.
might say, "Oh, my bag broke," which is
Yes.
okay, but the word that you used was "my bag ripped open."
Hmm.
So to rip open, or I thought as well of split, to
Split.
split.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of say those two words really, to rip open or to split, when a something made of material, could be clothes or a bag, goes like
Yep.
that.
Yeah. You usually, because of maybe the pressure, there's too much inside it. So it splits because of that one, or it rips open. But yeah, those are very very nice and very descriptive, of course. And no, I think those ones are definitely useful for when we need to talk about and describe things that, of course, do rip open or split. But yeah, broken can be used. It's not a wrong word to use, but I think naturally we would lean towards more descriptive ways rather than just use the word broken, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's like we were saying about nerve wracking, isn't it? Or fiercely competitive. It's just raising your level of English, by expanding your vocabulary and finding those context specific words that you
Yes.
can then use. I hope that your bag will never split. I hope your trousers will never split. but you never know. So there you go. Rip open and split.
Nice. Now, another phrase that I think we can highlight in um, the actual role play that we did when you asked me is like, am I able to get some money back from this? Um, Again, this is another confusing one. Is like, where do we say like get money back, refund, things like that? Um, so why would you use that phrase in this situation? Because I think a lot of students, especially when we're talking about money, get confused of which to use sometimes.
So do you mean when I said, "Will I get any money back?"
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it basically means, will I be refunded any money? Doesn't it? Will I receive a refund? And again, I think well, phrasal verbs are often a more, not always, but often a more sort of informal alternative, aren't they, to
Yeah.
another expression or another verb? Not always, but I think in this sort of example, if I was writing an email to complain, I wouldn't say, "Will I get my money back?" I would
Yes.
say, "Will I receive a refund?" But
Exactly
if
right.
you're speaking and having a conversation, I think it's
Yeah.
often less formal, isn't it, than a written
Yeah,
thing.
and also as well, like, I think when you said about like, will I get some money back? I also like this phrase because it implies that you're not expecting everything. You're not expecting the whole of your like your feedback, but you wouldn't say, "Oh, am I going to get a partial refund?" For example, it doesn't really sound the same as get some money back. You know, it's not. It doesn't really roll so quick, so easily and quickly, does it? So yeah, I thought that was a great highlight of where phrasal verbs really lean into the sort of the natural side of things to just progress the conversation very quickly. Rather than using a more formal word, I think when we say to get some money back, it just it's quite natural. It's quite fast and easy for people to understand as well. And I think yeah, it just highlights in that situation of the differences of which one to use actually.
No, definitely. No, definitely. Excellent. Great that you've got a phrasal verb in there as well. The phrasal verb master. Well,
I I
it
had
goes.
to. I had to get one in.
All right, I think I've got one more, haven't I? I think this is
Yes.
number 10 now.
Yeah, one more.
Okay, well, it's just one more adjective. Lots of adjectives from me today, but so we've had cracking, nerve-wracking, competitive. The last adjective, you were talking about Lego, and you said some of the new Lego sort of
Yes.
mind mind blowing. So again,
Yep.
it's a very visual adjective, but a lovely adjective to use for something that blows your mind, that you find incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. You find that it's very interesting or um, surprising that how do they do it? How can they create something so impressive? Yeah, it's yeah we can say mind blowing just for those things, of course. But yeah, absolutely, very good indeed.
All right, Jordan, do you want to take us out of the pod?
All right, let's do it. Well, thank you very much indeed. I hope that you have listed down and learnt a lot of interesting vocabulary, especially adjectives for today. That has been episode number 8. If you would like to get into contact, don't forget to email us at englishtotakeawaypod at gmail.com with any stories or roleplay ideas that you would like us to showcase on the podcast, of course. But as always, it's been an absolute pleasure and looking forward to next time. But safe travels to Poland and don't bare your underpants on the conveyor belt, all right?
Really hope that doesn't happen, but it'll be a sure if it does for the pod anyway next week.
Yes. All
All
right.
right, take care. Cheers.
Take care. Bye bye.